People love to forget about Fallout 3. But it's the game that defined the series for me and for an entire generation of gamers. Fallout 3 made the Wasteland a mainstream phenomenon, and yet a big chunk of the fanbase acts like it never happened. Not me though.
Shall I deal with them?
Allow me.
For such a long time, the internet hive mind glossed over the Fallout series as if there was an undying truth. As if this enormous, beautiful, post-apocalyptic sci-fi wasteland capitalist commentary extravaganza could be summarised and encapsulated by its one true prophet, the series' magnum opus, Fallout New Vegas.
No problem.
Well, I played Fallout New Vegas when it released, and I thought it was okay. Okay. Enjoyed the faction variety, some fun new ideas here. The branching quest designs that led to fascinating lore icebergs, which became evident a while after release, to be fair, the fancy little cinematic opening, and this guy. But the game was missing a single key aspect of the Fallout series, an aspect I believe was perfectly encapsulated by the series' predecessor. During my early adolescence, as far as I can remember it gaming-wise, I was more preoccupied playing Halo 2 at the time, maybe Fable 2, maybe some Bioshock. And that's when the dulcet tones of Liam Neeson became all-encompassing. Swept me off my feet, rocked my little brain, threw me out of Vault 101 and opened my eyes to a truly open world where I could really play a role in the development of my surrounding environment. We're not just talking grinding XP, picking up a few skills and grabbing all the collectibles on the map. We're talking blasting Megaton into the stratosphere, murdering every smooth skin in Tenpenny Tower and burning a conscious tree man to death. Real roleplay.
My goodness.
At launch, Fallout 3 won Game of the Year at multiple outlets. Fallout 3 sold over 12 million copies in its first year alone and was Bethesda's biggest hit at the time.
Who's laughing now?
Hot off the heels of the mind-numbingly fun Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, Fallout 3 was a big deal. If you want to get really deep about it, the game was a cultural event for gamers, if nothing else. Fallout 3 also brought the series to consoles, the first time a mainstream audience got a taste of the wasteland. That shift is a big part of why New Vegas could even exist in the first place. Without the engine, without the sales numbers, without Bethesda proving to the world at large that Fallout works in 3D, Obsidian would never have been handed the keys. Todd Howard and the team at Bethesda had never made a Fallout game before. The story, from fans' perspective, I find all too often frames these series of events through the lens of stereotypical corporate greed. But Bethesda was a small 100-man studio at the time. Bethesda took a big risk pivoting Fallout from the isometric CRPG into a fully voiced, fully 3D open world, but it paid off in a big way. The first Fallout was a massive commercial success for an indie studio. It sold 500,000 copies. And if you did play the first Fallout game, I have a massive respect for you, your generation, your opinion, the way you fought back the Nazis in World War II, and I hope you're enjoying your free bus pass. But since then, the landscape of gaming changed massively. In 1992, we got Wolfenstein 3D. In 1993, the generation-defining Doom. Just a year later, in 1994, Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky began development of the groundbreaking post-apocalyptic sci-fi RPG Fallout, which materialised in and of itself 3 years later, on October 10th, 1997. Around the same time, Duke Nukem arrived.
If the show's called Invincible, then why can I see it?
There is absolutely still room in the modern gaming space for the classic style of isometric RPG, as evidenced by the massive success of, say, Baldur's Gate 3. And if you'd like to see a modern interpretation of isometric RPG in a similar vein to the Fallout universe, I highly recommend the Wasteland series. But Fallout, I find, benefited from its immersive 3D first-person surroundings in one key aspect more than any other: the horror.
What the
hell is even that?
The horror aspect of Fallout 3 is perfectly implemented in my opinion. It's engrossing, well balanced, and adding to the game's already addictive time sink gameplay loop. Exploration feels rewarding but also causes the player to think twice before diving into a dark, scary looking hole. I can find it quite funny now, certain aspects of the horror element of Fallout 3, but as a teenager, not understanding the outer parameters of this enormous open world with seemingly endless exploration and surprises to uncover, I genuinely did not know what to expect when lurking into the dark underbelly of DC's metro system or a random super duper mart. There comes a time after your 600th Skyrim playthrough where you know what to expect from a cave or dungeon. It's Falmer, it's Dwemer, it's bandits, wild beasts. Fallout 3 works in the same way with a limited pool of enemies, but it holds onto its ominous tension for much, much longer in my eyes. I still feel like I could be surprised when exploring this beautifully ambient, tension-filled green wasteland. I would also argue the janky combat and difficult to attain hit registration, in retrospect, actually adds a lot to the horror aspects of the game. It almost makes me wish Fallout 4 had worse shooting mechanics in a way, so it could retain a little more of the fear factor Fallout 3 maintains so well. When you can reliably hit a target in your sights, the gun doesn't jam and grenades are a bumper button away, it's easy to feel a lot more secure. And it makes sense from a lore perspective. I guess you're the sole survivor, you're ex-military, but I still think that reliably engaging, refined, first-person shooter combat, although a ton of fun to play and good to see from Bethesda, it was a big improvement on previous entries, diluted the horror elements of the game in a big way, and maybe should have been locked behind some more perks, you know? Yeah, I miss managing item conditions, I miss repairing equipment, shoot me. I also found Fallout 3 had me relying on VATS more than 4, and even New Vegas, weirdly enough. New Vegas mainly because of the weapon variety, more so than any vast improvements on the gunplay itself, which admittedly I do appreciate how many grounded, cool looking weapons and additions were in that game. Scarcity in resources and ammunition also contributes to the horror and isolation found in Fallout 3. Wandering and exploration, the push-pull, carrot and stick nature of entering dark, mutant-infested locations, not knowing if the return on loot will be worth the expense. This builds an atmosphere that is scary, scarce, and tempting. And when I do return to Fallout 4, I often add mods to tamper with the leveled list so that valuable resources such as stim packs, ammunition, jet, rubber are more scarce than what is seen in the vanilla game. You eventually find yourself with an abundance of all these essential items, any which way you go. But I like those first few levels, the first 10, 15 levels to be scarce and a real management task for the player to navigate, which again, I think Fallout 3 does very well in vanilla. Having to resort to your BB gun to finish off the survival guide quest is a core memory of mine. I've seen people complaining about the old design decision, but I find the interconnected dungeon to exterior design through the metro tunnels to be a stroke of genius. The fantastic horror dungeons filled with ghouls, raiders, and worse, much worse, that still managed to capture my imagination even 17 years after the fact. The technically limited open world being connected through these tunnels is obviously a design decision to mask the engine's technical limits of rendering a fully rendered Washington DC alongside the rest of the capital wasteland simultaneously. But I love being lost in these dark, damp horror tubes to be spat out at the Washington Monument, surrounded on all sides by super mutants, crawling through echoes and relics of an old, open world. Another big criticism I often see Fallout 3 down the sights of would be the lack of role-playing options and character choice, especially in the shadow of its cooler younger brother, Fallout New Vegas. However, perks like Lady Killer, Child at Heart can add more dialogue and lead the player to deeper roleplay. And I've always enjoyed how you can run into Fallout 3's storyline at different stages through the obviously encouraged exploration. Admittedly, New Vegas has a lot more extra dialogue choices from perks that can be more impactful here and there, but almost every quest will present the player with multiple avenues to resolve situations. But it also has this right outside the starting town, on a beeline for Las Vegas. That's a cardinal sin. Is this some kind of deal breaker? Does this ruin Fallout New Vegas for me? Am I outraged?
Stop it right now. Believe.
No, but it does serve to illustrate a point that I want to make with this video, in that more often than not, Fallout New Vegas gets touted as the best, the greatest Fallout experience there is, when I think I want to illustrate the fact that they're very different experiences, all three games, you know? I think Fallout 4 focuses generally on survival in the wasteland and companion relationships and the narrative based around the central protagonist. Whereas Fallout New Vegas focuses on branching narrative and role-playing choice and different options for different characters. Whereas Fallout 3 seems to focus on establishing the world as we know it, showcasing the constant struggle and depravity of the wasteland with both masterfully crafted atmosphere and an open world that horrifies as much as it intrigues. Fallout 3 confidently hits a sweet spot with its atmosphere, its exploration, its loot, its resource management, its combat and its difficulty in my eyes. It's just fun to play. This is Skyrim era Bethesda at the top of their game as we know it. And I just don't see people talking about it. The game's so underrated in my opinion. Now I know I'm being a little provocative here, and yet I'll give it its flowers. There are quest lines in New Vegas that in terms of writing and branching narratives can outshine Fallout 3 every day of the week. The leveling system has some fun little tidbits added into it. It can be a lot smoother, the leveling up process, outside of maybe charisma being completely handicapped by the speech skill and practically useless. But I do find I have to really invest time and effort into certain narrative arcs in New Vegas before I start to feel excited to play it. With Fallout 3, I just pick it up and I just start playing. You know, the atmosphere is engrossing, the exploration feels endless, and the game throws a stupid amount of random encounters in here. It's such a fun experience to revisit. The horror moments land, the storyline never gets in the way of that. The Fallout 3 feels like a real apocalypse scenario in a way that I think New Vegas just misses the mark on. I respect New Vegas for trying something different, but I love Fallout 3 for nailing down the core atmosphere of what I've come to expect from a Fallout game, while also totally reinventing and reinvigorating the franchise. It built the foundations for New Vegas, for Fallout 4, and even for the controversial 76. I'm not trying to divide people. This is just a little love letter I wanted to make about one of my favourite games of all time. A game that pulled me into the Bethesda experience and stuck with me ever since. A game I think deserves a lot more love. Fallout 3. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to this point, I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening to my rant. I just wanted to make this because I just bumbled back into the game and had a lot of fun with it. This is a new channel, we're just starting out. A like and a subscribe would do me a ton of favours. If you're new here, if you like what you've seen, if you like what you heard, if you like the positivity, stick around, leave me a subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.
Shall I deal with them?
Allow me.